All right. Regular season's ready to get going here. Everybody be better than you were in the preseason. Here we go. Coming down.
I thought Jesse Puljujarvi played a heck of a game last game. I thought he was physical. I thought he got in on the forecheck. He found a way to score a goal, which I'm sure helps his own personal confidence. But
yes, after all the debate, all the speculation, and frankly, mayhem on Twitter, Jesse Puljujarvi looks to be starting on the top line with Connor McDavid. Yeah, an injury might have helped his cause, but Jay Woodcroft liked what he saw, and now is the time to be injecting confidence into your players. That's some of what we're hearing from Jay Woodcroft. Welcome to Got Your Back, folks. Today on the show, Struds and I are going to go over the Oilers' final roster. We'll take a stab at guessing some goal and point totals, and Terry Ryan's going to check in with his takeaway on which team in Canada has the best chance to win a Stanley Cup. Welcome to Got Your Back as we say good morning to Chris Sabunia and to Jason Strudwick. How you doing, fellas?
Good, boys. What about you?
I'm doing great. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, for sure. So listen, we're going to do a fashion evaluation here in a moment because as you guys know, the podcast is brought to you by Mr. Dirk, the iconic men's clothing store in Edmonton, founded in 1939. You have to check it out if you haven't seen it. Just off White Avenue and 102nd Street. They've got a beautiful new shop. Strudwick has been there. They got everything you need for every aspect of your wardrobe, Struds. Big lineup of casual clothes, jeans, pants, shirts, sweaters, shoes, and on the more formal side, an amazing selection of brand name suits. I've been buying clothes there for, 6 or 7 years, and well, I don't get chirped about my clothes on Twitter, so I'll take that as a win. Hey, Zuby switched to some sort of camo from his blue hoodie.
Yes, I was unaware there was an evaluation today. It's 5:30 where I am. I feel like I get a little bit more slack. Maybe I'm also not talent. I'm behind the scenes here. So
Attractive, man.
What's your
but
excuse,
either way,
Struds?
am I hiding? Oh no, I'm not.
This is the look, right?
In the background.
To start your day, you've got a nice hoodie on. As I got to work out still today, then I'll slip into something a little more sexy. I can send you guys a picture if you want in our group chat.
To work out?
Yeah,
what do you work out in?
What do I work out? Why I don't have an elliptical like some of the members of this group do, an elliptical machine that is obviously high energy and high intensity workout machine. But I've got something I like to use at home,
Yeah. Huh. Zuby, what do you got for workout gear?
Yeah, I haven't needed it in a while, so I'll have to go check into the archives at what I have for workout gear. But whatever it is, I'm sure it's too small.
Yeah, it does not fit. Struddy, I actually am pretty impressed with you because when you started, bringing all these children into your life, I secretly in the back of my head, I thought, oh, Struds, he's going to be like the rest of us soon. Like he's gonna balloon up. He's gonna put on like 50 pounds like most dads do. Yeah. You've actually kept it pretty tight, even after having children.
Yeah, not bad, not great. You know what? It's just a part. I went to a basketball game one time when I was still playing, and I was sitting right beside where the color guy, the play-by-play was going on, and the color guy. I didn't know who he was then. I don't know who he is now, but he's a pretty fit guy, and probably as old as I was. And someone walked by and said, "God, you look good, man." He's like, yeah, I do 5 hours activity a week. And it's always been in my head. So that's what I do. So 5 hours, whatever it is, walking, biking, running, yoga, lifting weights, swimming, whatever it is, that's my number. So that's how it works. And so I don't even know who to give credit to. I don't know who it is, but
some color guy.
Yeah, the color guy. And he was he was fitter than I am now, but I mean, at least I'm trying to be close. But I think that's a good number. 5 hours of activity. That's what I shoot for. It can be playing hockey, whatever, anything. So that's how I work. That's my secret to average success.
What's your target minutes per week there, Zuby?
Well, for the plan that I'm actually doing, or the one I'd like to do. The one I'd like to do, I was even thinking 3 hours. I figure if I got hockey once a week, maybe one session on the old Dusty Bowflex in the gym, in the garage, I should say, and an hour of yoga. Maybe I thought that would be good if I could do 3 hours a week. That's my goal.
You know what I do? I find, especially in and around podcast season, I just stop eating. Like I dropped weight before we started the podcast last year, like 10 pounds. Cause I was doing nothing but working. I was in creative mode and I like being hungry when I'm in creative mode. So I just stopped eating. And then we started doing the podcast. And by the way, I have another full-time job as well. So then I started eating again a lot. And then I put on a bunch of weight while we were podcasting through the playoffs. And then we were going to start another podcast. So I stopped eating again. So right now I'm down. Good. And I'm trying to figure out how to not start eating again now that we're rocking and rolling and the season is about to start. I feel like I'm either gonna put on 25 pounds because we're doing more than ever, or I'm going to keep it on lock. I don't know which way this is going to go.
Well, it's exciting to see what happens. It's a cliffhanger. I'll be watching.
I'm sure you'll be so supportive.
I got a Mexico trip in February, so that's my new goal. That's Speedo season. Maybe we keep track of that. I'll weigh in. I'll keep track of that because I want to keep track of. You said you guys are going to do some predictions today, and I want to double back on those predictions because I feel like in sports TV and radio, the predictions go out there and then they never get mentioned again.
No, we don't like that. We want them to just drift off into the abyss.
Yeah, I'm writing them down. And we'll double back. We've already been in on Hyman's goals and all of that and business. We're coming back to that stuff.
I don't stand by anything I say.
No, I wouldn't either if I were you. There's a lot of dribble that comes out of your face. All right, time for the breakdown, brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. And of course, they have locations in both Calgary and Edmonton. It's beautiful, high-quality, maintenance-free vinyl fencing and decking material. You don't ever have to sand. You don't ever have to stain. You put this stuff in and you can sit back and relax and you can enjoy your yard. If you're a contractor out there that does fences or decks, consider DLR's vinyl stuff. Because they've got a great post-pounding system, makes putting in fences so easy, no more cementing. The process is so simple. I've actually done it. I was able to do it. That's how simple and efficient their post-pounding system is. So that's DLR Vinyl Products. Call my brother Rob in Calgary or Rick here in Edmonton and check out some high-quality, maintenance-free vinyl fencing. Okay, Struds, the roster is set. All 21 players on it. Listen, the Oilers are in cap trouble here, and that's why we're going to see them start with a 21-man roster, 12 forwards, 7 defensemen, and a couple of goaltenders. There is very little room for error or injury here.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it kind of ended up the way we thought. There's always a lot of discussion about, this player pushing in or this player pushing in, and maybe the Broberg, maybe that'd be the only one that really is a surprise. I don't think there's really anything. And I guess another nice one would be James Hamblin. I honestly think this guy's going to get some games this year. He is exactly what Colorado had in their fourth line: smart, hardworking, fast players. But other than that, the Lions, they may not look like this when the season gets 10 or 20 or 30 games in, but the same personnel are around it, are on it. So. I don't think, to me, there's really very few surprises. I don't know. Were you surprised or shocked by anything?
No, I wasn't. And the fact that they've only got 21 guys instead of 23, we knew that if there was not a trade made, that they were going to have to do this. And we've heard about lots of teams have done this in the past.
Sure.
But it's not no big deal. And I don't think they believe it's no big deal. It can be troublesome. They are right up against it with the cap, right up against it. No cap space at all. They need a trade to get a little bit of breathing room so that if there's injuries, if they need to be bringing players in, they're able to do it. Not an ideal situation, and they're going to be juggling until they find a trade. So which player gets traded? We've talked lots about Puljujarvi. The trade market out there is really, really tough. And so until they move a body out, they are going to be right jammed against it. They're going to have to do some cap gymnastics. They're going to keep a tight roster here of only 21 guys and very little room for injury. So I just think it's notable as they get going that we haven't really seen them have to do this before. And that's the situation that they are in right now. Your question about surprises, Philip Broberg had a spot to lose coming into training camp and he lost it. I don't mean to be too hard on him, but that just is what it is. We all knew that Philip Broberg had a spot to lose, and it doesn't look like he's going to start the season here with the team. So You tell me, Struddy, if you're Philip Broberg, you train all summer knowing it's yours for the taking, it's yours for the taking, and you get there and someone takes it from you. What are we going to learn about Philip Broberg in this process here?
Well, I think we're going to figure out, or we realized that for him, it was a big ask to come in knowing he had a job to lose, and he wasn't ready for it. He just wasn't ready for it. And you think of players that are told that this is your time to shine, and you come in and you're underwhelming. I don't think he was awful, but I didn't think he pushed it. And like Dylan Holloway pushed it and made a case saying didn't make a case. He made it clear that it is his job. I didn't think Broberg was able to come in and do that. But
don't you think, Struddy, just let me interrupt you real quick. I think Broberg only needed to be good to make the team. I don't think he was even good. Yeah, well,
I've said this before and I'll say it again. What does he look like when he's great? Like what does his game look like? Like what are his hallmarks? I don't see him wheeling and dealing like Barry. I don't see him being physical like a nurse. He can skate like Kulak. I don't think he has a bomb.
You've mentioned Bouwmeester in the past.
Yeah, and that's
Bouwmeester, right?
And so Bouwmeester, like, what if we put all of his career highlights on Instagram? How long would it be? But he played 1,000 games, and that's not an insult to Jay Bouwmeester. That's actually a compliment. So, I think for Broberg, I don't think going down to the minors is a bad thing. I honestly don't. I think he's got still time to play, grow down there. But for Niemelainen, and I think it's great what he's accomplished. And I think for Ryan Murray, what you're getting with him. So, a little time in the minors, I don't see this as a major problem. Now, if he doesn't grow and develop over this year, I think that conversation is changed by the end of the year. But I want to see a different player in game 20, game 40, game 60, if he gets recalled. And right now it might be tough for that to happen. But at some point, I want to see what that looks like.
Meanwhile, up at forward, we mentioned him, Dylan Holloway is going to start the year. Not only did he make the team here out of training camp, but he made the top six. And making the top six has nothing to do with the Kailer Yamamoto injury. He'd be in the top six if every player on this team were perfectly healthy. He knocked it absolutely out of the park. We're going to get to our Weiss Johnson soundbox here. It's a great time of year to look into a furnace for the garage with winter coming. You want to let the family get in and out of the car nice and toasty warm? Give them a shout or check out the showroom, 5803 Roper Road. By the way, Struds, Weiss Johnson's doing something really cool here. So it's their 45th anniversary. For the next 3 months, they're going to give away, they're going to have a contest to give away a free installation of a new furnace or a hot water tank to a community organization or a charity that is in need. So if you know of a community organization or a charity that needs a furnace or a hot water tank, you can email them at info@weissjohnson.com. That's info@weiss-johnson.com. info@weiss-johnson.com. The other thing they're doing is they're looking for the oldest furnace in Edmonton. So if you think you have the oldest furnace in Edmonton, send them an email and they're going to replace whatever they find is the oldest furnace in Edmonton. Anyways, back to the Weiss Johnson soundbox here. Here's Jay Woodcroft talking about Dylan Holloway and the hockey sense that is there, because it's a common refrain when you ask Holloway's line mates about his game, you hear about that hockey sense.
When players of Leon Draisaitl and Zach Hyman are talking about your IQ, that's a feather in your cap. And they're demonstrating that they feel good with him on their line.
So we know he's going to start there with Draisaitl and Hyman. Do you think this is a 2, 3, 4, 5 game stretch and then the league will catch up with him as it often does with young rookies? Or do you think that Dylan Holloway has shown enough that you can bet on him being there for a little while?
Well, first off, I think it's time for us all to collectively retire the feather in his cap saying. I think it's well past its time. And no disrespect, Jay Woodcroft, but I think that one is. I think it's time to let it go. As far as
what are the origins of that? What are the origins of feather in the cap? Zuby, look up origins of feather in the cap and let us know.
I just think it's past its expiry date. But as far as Dylan Holloway, I can only go on what I've seen. And when I think back to the game, the exhibition game against Calgary, where the Oilers had a non-NHL roster and they were playing against a very high NHL roster, he did have some moments where the veterans kind of tricked him into doing what he wanted to do. Now, when he did play some other lineups, they were more NHL. He still did well when he was playing with the NHL guys. He is very fast. He's very strong. And I think he is very smart. but so are the other players on the ice. He's not the only one who has a high hockey IQ out there. And I'm talking about top 4 defensemen that he's going to be playing against. So I think he's going to have his moments, both, that are really positive. And when I think of bad, I don't want to say bad like massive turnovers, but, where he gets tricked into a player putting him where he wants to go, or, you bait him. You bait him that this pass is open, and you snap your stick over and takes away that passing lane. But the good thing is when you're playing with Connor and Leon, quite honestly, no one's looking at you. No one's really thinking about you. So he will, and that's no disrespect to Dylan Holloway, but everyone's focused on him. So if he can find open ice, those guys will find him. So I think we will see some moments, and I know I'm sitting on the fence a bit here, but that's the reality, because until you can have the best hockey IQ, but everybody out there has the same, or most everybody else has the same approach as you. But I can't wait to see what he can do. And in my mind, I had a vision of what he could become, and it's happening right in front of us. A large, fast, physical, smart winger that can score. Another guy to complement the Hymans, the Canes, Puljujarvis. I'm sure I'm missing a couple guys.
I would have doubted it before. I don't, after what I saw last game, where there were NHL defensemen that he was playing against, and Draisaitl and Hyman ratcheted up their pace. And their processors were firing at full speed in the offensive zone, and Holloway was right there with them. The speed at which he was making really intelligent hockey plays separated him from a lot of the other guys that are going to be fighting for those spots. Zuby, nice work. This term, feather in the cap, stems from when knights of old were recognized for bravery on the battlefield by being awarded plumes for their helmets, Struddy. So still feels relevant to me.
Okay. Very appropriate. Yeah, it's timing. The timing's right. But just go back to Dylan Holloway. When you look at it, you have to remember the rest of the league is going to ratchet it up as well.
Yep, sure.
Like this isn't. Every game gets harder. Every game gets a little bit more difficult, and not that Dylan can adjust, but all those other guys have adjusted already. They've been through this process. Dylan hasn't. So and I feel like I'm throwing cold water on your idea here, but there are going to be moments where he's learning. But again, he's playing with elite players, and they're going to help him kind of get through that. But because of his speed and size, he can probably compensate for it.
Yeah, I agree. There's going to be learning moments. I'm just not sure there's going to be better options. I think if he continues to make plays, those guys are going to want to play with him. So we'll see. Maybe it'll catch up to him.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll catch up to him. Okay, let's get into some predictions before we get to TR here. A lot of talk this year about this being the season that Connor McDavid gets to 50 goals. Do you think Connor will hit 50 goals this season? 44 last year, Struddy.
Yeah, I do. I really do. And that's going to affect his line mates, right now, Puljujarvi and Kane and whoever it is. It will affect it a bit. 44 goals last year. I've got him at 51. I honestly think that he wants that feather in his cap. So I think that he finds a way to get it. But I don't have his point totals changing much. I have him about 126, 127. I don't have it change much. But I think 50 goals, elite players, they want those, not want, but they chase those numbers. And I think he's going to get it. What do you say?
45, 85, 130. I think the rest of the hockey world is focused on McDavid getting 50 goals. I don't think he is at all. McDavid has never had the goal-scoring prowess around him that he's going to have this season with Evander Kane, and he's going to play to that strength. The other thing, Struds, if Connor McDavid were wanting to push all new goal totals, and he spent the summer working on his shot, and he spent the summer sharpening that goal-scoring blade, we would have noticed it in preseason, and we didn't. He was passing a lot. He was turning up a lot of shots to try and feed Evander Kane. I think the hockey world has this in their brain. I don't think Connor McDavid does. 45 goals, 85 assists. No, I don't. I think Connor McDavid wants to do whatever he has to do to win, and he looks around himself right now, and he sees goal-scoring prowess on all sides, and I think he's going to do everything he can to harness that. I think Evander Kane is going to have the most goals he's ever scored in his career.
That's interesting. And I agree with Evander Kane, but I look at all the great players. They all scored 50. So he's the only one that won't do that.
I'm not saying he won't do it.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
He won't do it at some point in his career. I don't think it'll be this year. I don't think that's the way this lineup sets up for him to get 50 this year.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I look at Sidney Crosby, Ovechkin, Stamkos, Kucherov, all these guys, they all wanted to score 50. And you don't think that's on his to-do list? I would disagree. And that's not him being selfish at all. I just think that that's what those guys, they're programmed to think that way. So, okay, let's see what happens. And you're right. There is a lot of other people, good options around him.
Yeah, definitely are. Okay, Leon Draisaitl. Here's the question I want to ask. Because there's all this talk about McDavid and 50 and Matthews and how many he's going to get. And if McDavid needs to score more goals to close in on Matthews for the Hart race, I'm going to throw this out for you. What are the chances Leon Draisaitl gets 60 if he puts his mind to it?
Well, this is going to sound a little bit counter to what I said earlier, but I actually don't think Leon, I think his goal totals will go down a little bit. I have him at
55 last year.
Yeah, 55. So I put him at 51. I think Leon, when I look back to the playoffs last year, I think Leon, he said in his word, he goes, I learned to play a different way. And not that he has to change his style, but he's learned that he can be everything all the time for everybody out there. And I think he's going to become that guy that just sucks up ice time, sucks up good players, just absolutely is horrendous to play against because he can play both ways. He's big, he's strong, he can score. And I think he's going to use his line mates. So I think he will still get 51, but I have his point totals going up by just a couple to 112. But I think that playoff experience last year for Leon will change his year this year.
60 goals, 55 assists, 115
You got him at 68? Jeez.
I got him at 60. Here's the thing.
Wow.
McDavid is going to want to help him get there. McDavid is going to want to help Draisaitl get to 60. I think that's going to be more a focus than Connor McDavid getting to 50. I just think McDavid is going to be a puck distributing maniac this year. I don't think he's going to put a focus on the goals like everybody thinks he is. Struds, we're not seeing it. I'm at every practice. I watch all these games. This has not been a focus for him. And you do not get to 50 goals for the first time in your career without a notable shift in your thought process. And it's not there. I'm not seeing it from McDavid. So I think Draisaitl is going to be a benefactor and Kane is going to be a benefactor.
Did Connor have that? Did he look the same this year as he did last year when he got 44? So his 6 more goals, that much more. That's 10%, just over 10% more.
Yeah, well, right, but it still takes something to get there. It's not then Draisaitl. Why can't he easily just grab another quick 5 and get to 60?
Yeah,
right. It is hard once you're pushing those sorts of totals. Like it's tough to get yourself over the edge. Listen, 45 for Draisaitl or for McDavid, 60 for Draisaitl. You got McDavid at 50. Draisaitl going the other way. Zuby is going to hold us accountable. Last one, really quick. Oilers last season, 104 points, 49, 27, and 6. Do they finish with more points this year?
I do have them finishing with more. I have them at 110. I know Calgary had 111 last year, but I think 110 for the Oilers, a more complete game. And you know what, the point total is one thing for me, but I want to see a consistent brand of hockey through the year. They've had some dips in the past year. And so, I'd like to see that 110 marker for me would be where it's at. Now, does that put him in first place? Maybe. But for me, it's really important to see the consistent brand. But I got 3 more wins, buddy. I guess what I'm saying.
Yep.
What about you?
And you know what? I came out right in the same spot, 110 points. I think they're going to have more consistent goaltending from 2 goaltenders than they did last season. I think the Jay Woodcroft and company are going to put that defensive system into place and a full season of playing it. They'll be a lot more consistent. Remember, they had 104 points last year. They hit the ditch for 6 weeks. Right. I don't think they're going to hit the ditch for 6 weeks this year. I think they're going to be a more consistent team. So, 110 points, and that might actually be conservative. Okay, who is the best team in Canada? Terry Ryan is going to check in with TR's takeaways coming up after the break. So stick around. Lots more to come here on Got Your Back, YEG, presented by Mr. Dirk. Checking in with Sterling Dirk inside the beautiful Mr. Dirk shop. People ask me all the time, who is the Mr. Dirk, Sterling? I know it's not you. Who's the original?
So my grandfather was a tailor, and he came over to Canada in 1940s, opened his freestanding shop in 1965. So Mr. Dirk's an ode to my grandfather. He was a tailor, and we keep that ethos of like quality service and community embedded in our store every day. So if you come in, you walk in, you're gonna get a friendly face, a smile, and we're gonna get you suited up head to toe, get you some jeans, shoes, whatever you need. We got you covered.
1939 is on the emblem, and it means something. Truly local. MrDirk.com is where you can see all of their merchandise or visit them in store right off White Avenue and 102nd Street. Hey, Struddy, question for you. Have you ever tried putting in your own fence?
I sure have. Between digging the posts, mixing up cement and digging the holes, it's absolute killer.
It's brutal on the back. Well, listen, what if I told you you could put in a fence without having to dig a hole or mix any concrete?
I'd be much more likely to come over and help you out.
Yeah, well, you're not the first guy I would call, but thank you for that. Listen, my brother's company, DLR Vinyl Products, they've come up with a system where you can actually put high-quality vinyl fence in the ground without having to dig a hole, without having to mix any concrete. They can teach do-it-yourselfers how to do it, and they can also work with contractors who might be looking to start installing vinyl. It's super high-quality product. The great thing about it is that it has fantastic longevity. You put it in, you don't have to worry about staining or sanding or anything like that. I've been lucky enough, Struddy. They've put in multiple fences in my different yards and they've built me 3 decks. I have totally abused the fact that my family is in the fencing and decking business, but it's great product. Give Rob a call in Calgary or Rick a call here in Edmonton. This is a company my dad started. It's a family business. I'm super proud of it. That's DLR Vinyl Products in Edmonton and Calgary. What is that mess you have on?
Well, first of all, I wear my girdle. I got a Schelling girdle. I go 80s, man. The only time I ever didn't was junior when we weren't allowed, and I even snuck it there. I used to, what did we have to wear? The tacklers, was it? I can't remember. But anyway, I used to just put the shell over. I love the girdle, love old school, and I just drive around town in my gear all the time. I prefer dress.
Wait a minute.
Why wouldn't I dress watching TV? Unless it involves beers with the boys after, I'm getting dressed in my living room.
What are you, 7? You get your hockey gear on before you go to the ring.
One of these things that makes total sense, and it seems weird.
Struds, you got to weigh in here, man.
Well,
are you following this?
Yeah, I see it. I see what he's up to, and I get it. I'm not a girdle fan. To me, it's just too much work. I don't want to put that much work in TR.
Really?
I don't care what you're putting on. Struds, he's getting dressed in his living room at home and driving to the rink in gear like he's 7 years old. Does Senior drive you, TR? Does Senior pick you up and drive you?
Quite frequently. No, I bring a backpack.
Get you a Slurpee on the way home?
In case I want to stay out and do something, but otherwise, I like to. It's a lot of time. If there's one thing I don't like about hockey, it's putting the gear on and off. Think of how many hours we've done that in our lifetime. I'd rather do something productive, like watch a documentary or something while I'm doing it, rather than just sit there in a rink, cold, freezing. Like, I don't know. For me, best decision I ever made, I made it about 10 years ago.
So you're a last-minute guy then. You're walking in, throwing your blades on.
Often.
So what about bonding? What about bonding with the groups?
Often.
Like, is that not bonding time?
Probably half. I mean, I'm skating almost every single day. Oh yeah, I skate every day. Always by noon. Like we have a good, senior hockey's different. I go to the rink early for that.
This feels weird to me.
One more year. Hashtag one more year.
Struds, you got to weigh in. I know you wear jeans under your track pants, but even you must think that getting dressed at home and driving to the rink in equipment is weird.
Well, I don't mind it. Like, I prefer. I'm not a guy. I don't get there like for men's league when I used to play. I get there like 5 minutes before the game.
Yeah.
So like I'll just wheel in and just start playing. Now after, that's when I'd spend my quality time with the boys, not before.
Totally agree.
But what about getting gear on at home, Struds? Weigh in on that.
I don't really have a problem with that. I don't think it's a big deal. Like
Subi.
If you're from another planet, and you came here and just learned the intricacies of sports, and it would seem totally logical to get dressed in the warm. While I got my 80-inch TV here. I'm watching highlights from last night, right? I'm checking my football scores. Like, it's all good. But now afterwards, like Strut said, that's totally different. Yeah. Afterwards, stick around, chat with the boys, whatever. There's where the bonding comes in. Before is just a root canal.
And my problem's the girdle.
I don't know the proximity to the rink. I could see doing it if the rink was really close, but not bad. My gear is so nasty. I couldn't stand myself being in the car. I wouldn't want to put it on my car.
How far is the rink?
Here's the kicker. The rink that I'm going to today is about 10 minutes, but I'll make it a half hour because it got moved from 11 to 12. Now I got a bit more time, and I'll throw on a podcast and drive the Outer Ring Road, similar to the Anthony Henday out that way. The Outer Ring Road, and I'll just all the way around, listen to a podcast in my hockey gear.
you would rather drive around an extra half hour in your gear than drive in clothing directly to the rink and just get dressed there.
But I'm gathering knowledge because I'm listening to podcasts.
Right.
How did we get to this place in this podcast? I'm no debate master, TR, but you need to stop trying to win arguments by saying it would make sense to the aliens.
Yeah.
You gotta drop that. All right. Slamming the brakes on this nonsense so we can do some paid podcasting here. Time for TR's takeaways, brought to you by Sherwood Buick GMC, although I don't think we're going to get a better takeaway than we just had. Just off Baseline Road on the way into Sherwood Park, they've got that big, beautiful showroom. They're the number one dealership in all of Canada, GMC dealership, that is, for the last 5 years running. I bought a truck there, I don't know, a month or so ago, and it was basically the easiest vehicle buying process I've ever been through. TR, you know the dealership well, you know Phil well, and it comes with your stamp of approval.
It certainly does, and I can't wait to get back out there. And Phil promised me he would hook me up with a nice vehicle similar to the one that I drove last time I was out there. So my expectations are very high, Phil. I know you're listening.
All right, good stuff. So the conversation I wanted to have with you guys was about the best team in Canada. And I was watching the preview shows that were on yesterday, and I think it's as good a debate this year as it has been in a little while. You have 3 teams you could make a legitimate argument for. So, Struddy, I'm going to begin with you. When you look at the 3 higher-end teams north of the border, who do you point to as the best team, best chance to win a cup?
I'll go with Edmonton. I think that Edmonton has a deep roster. And I think I'll look at maybe some of the flaws in the other groups, but I do really like the way Edmonton's built. I like their depth up front. I recognize they've got to play shorthanded or at least kind of not have the full roster of 23 because of their salary cap issues. I think those will be ironed out though at some point. But when I'm looking at Toronto, I see a team that is hoping that their goalies work out, and that's a risky business when you're trying to win a Stanley Cup. And Murray was a guy actually I'd talked about the Oilers maybe trying to pick up, but between those 2 goalies, I'm a little bit nervous. Then down in Calgary, I think that they took apart their top line. Yes, they replaced it, but Toffoli's not as good as Tkachuk or Gaudreau. I think Huberdeau matches those guys just fine. So even though their blue line has been improved, I don't think that they have the top end skill that they had last year. So kind of by the process of elimination and the moves to bring in Jack Campbell and return Kane and Kulak, I've got the Oilers as the top team in Canada.
TR?
Of course, he's got the Oilers as the top team. Let me guess, you did as well, and I'm going to be the only person on Edmonton radio not to. But I'm putting 1A and 1B, okay? I think Toronto and Edmonton are very, very similar for a lot of reasons. Even as the exhibition goes, I tried to watch as much exhibition as I could. Dylan Holloway and Robertson, very similar situations. Every year, something comes up, right? Goalies with mystery. Now, here's where I differ. I think Toronto and Edmonton are set. I don't think its goalies are going to be a problem. And I'm not even really talking about Murray. I'm really excited for Toronto's for Samsonov. I look at his stats, man. Like, this guy went in the first round not that long ago. He's in his 20s. He had an off year last year, but before that, you're talking about his NHL experience is only in a bubble. Like, you give this bird a chance to fly. Murray, it's a situation. If each situation is going to present a different series of problems, if you will, even though it's a goaltending, I don't want to say problem issue here, but Murray has done it before. These people are familiar. I don't think you're going to go to the Toronto Maple Leafs and want to embarrass yourself. Not that you ever want to, but I just see good things. I think the goalies are more than decent, and I don't think there was a reason to get rid of Campbell in the first place. I think Edmonton are set. I think those are 2 lock positions. Now, you've got obviously some great forwards on both. So let's just say Marner, Matthews, McDavid, Draisaitl, okay? Again, very, very similar the way these teams drive the bus. But there's something to be said for Marner, Matthews not even playing. I think they both played 70 games, maybe 68, 69, 70 games, right? Toronto had way more goals than Edmonton did, even though Edmonton have arguably the 2 best players in the world. Matthews, Marner aren't far behind. Matthews is current Hart Trophy winner. when it comes to the other positions, I think, let's say on D, let's say Bouchard, I think he's going to have a breakout year. I don't think Kulak gets enough credit. And I think if there's one thing the Oilers, I might put them first. I wanted to be different on your show because it's Edmonton, but I think there's something to be said for Kane, Woodcroft. Kulak didn't play the whole year, right? These guys had a big-time slump. They got rid of a coach. There was a lot of kind of internal madness that went on with Edmonton for brief periods, but it happened. And they still came out of it where they did. And in the playoffs, they looked pretty good. Now, Toronto again lost in 7 to Tampa. And even though it's so Toronto and it's so everybody freaks out and, another loss in Game 7. But still, if you're looking back, if you're an alien from another planet, didn't know anything about it, and you just looked at the stats, I'm saying that I don't think it's as bad as people think. I think Toronto did far better than their fans would like to admit. And I think the Oilers are a train that, these guys are in their prime now. Dare I say that they might even be better this year? So I don't know where to rank them, 1A and 1B. Calgary, I'm really excited. They have a positive... Calgary and Ottawa, to me, have a real mystery about them. There's going to be great things happen. I don't know that Calgary are going to do as well as Edmonton or Toronto, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Ottawa, probably going to finish near the last of the Canadian teams, but I wouldn't be surprised if they came out ahead of Winnipeg, talking about a positive vibe, or even Vancouver, right? I don't know if those teams are as deep.
You're getting played off.
Sorry.
No, you're good, buddy.
I didn't even hear it.
That is going to be our signal to you, because I love it. Love the energy. Absolutely love it. So which one was A and which one was B? Did you end up going Toronto A or Edmonton?
I hate to do it because I want to be different, and I know you guys definitely pick the Oilers, Edmonton. But I think the Oilers given that these guys now are, there's a lot of reasons. The biggest reason is because I think Woodcroft, Kane, and Kulak are going to play a full season here. And Kane on a full season, Woodcroft, look at, it just seemed to me like a real positive vibe. And out of nothing, too, because Kane, there was so many negatives coming in. And what he did, he harnessed the energy the right way, and he re-signed, and now he's like a hero. I look at that, and it's just a ship that's sailing in the right direction for me. So slight nod to the Oilers.
Slight edge to Edmonton, yeah. And things definitely turned around under Woodcroft in a very notable way. Quality of defensive play, just overall consistency, not dropping game, not going on long, losing streaks. He definitely made a difference. Okay, the Calgary Flames are the best team on paper. And I think that it's with a little bit of a margin there. Listen, goaltending and defense. Like, the Calgary Flames are going to put one of the best blue lines in the game out every single night. Weegar, Tanev, Hanifin, Anderson, Zadorov, and then we'll see whoever ends up sliding into that other spot. This is a rock-solid blue line. And then on top of that, you got a goaltender who's one of the best goaltenders in the league. Now, I know he didn't do great against the Oilers, and he has a bit of an issue with the provincial rivals, but they've got the spine of this team is so strong between their goaltending and their blue line. And then up front, the question for me is, how are all the new parts going to gel? I think we'll see some regression in Kadri's numbers. I think Huberdeau is going to be excellent, but how do all the pieces fit together? So on paper, for me, guys, the Calgary Flames are the best team. I think the Edmonton Oilers are going to win the division, though. I do. I think that they are a little more familiar with one another. Their power play is going to fix a lot of things. I think they're going to get good goaltending. So I'm going to say Edmonton, but I think the Calgary Flames are a better team on paper right now. That's my opinion. To me, it goes Edmonton, Calgary, and then Toronto. But 3 really good teams playing in Canada, Struddy, and it's going to be fun to watch these guys and kind of who can pace themselves ahead of the other Struds.
Yeah, those 3 teams I think are clearly the ones that are above, but I think but behind them, 2 teams I'd be interested to watch are Ottawa and Winnipeg. I really think that Winnipeg, new coaching, Rick Bowness has gone in there and he's, to use another old term, upset the apple cart. I think he's in there and he's shaking things up, taking a captaincy away from Wheeler. I think that group will be a lot better defensively. I think they're going to play harder. So I think that's a wild card team. And then TR, your point about Ottawa, I think Ottawa's going to be a lot of fun. I think they'll be, if not in the playoffs, they'll be really close. The points they have to make up is pretty huge, but they've got a pretty young team there and fun team. You add Giroux, DeBrincat, all those types of guys. So and Cam Talbot, although I think he's injured. That team is another team I think to watch. So I have those top three, and then I have those two after that, and then Van, Montreal, and Van and Montreal are towards the bottom.
Yeah. It's not often we would say about the Ottawa Senators, TR, that they might be must-watch TV.
Yeah.
With what they've added to their lineup and the youth and Senators games are going to be great television and great drama, I think.
Yeah, and it's great vibe, too. And the guys want to go there, right? Like Claude Giroux is happy to go there. DeBrincat, when does this happen? What's he, 24, 25? He got 40 goals and he just lands in Ottawa. It's just a lot to be excited about. And their nucleus getting a lot older. Shout out to Jake Norris, whose father, Dwayne, is from Newfoundland. And Shabbat, I see a lot of good stuff there. It's a real positive vibe. Winnipeg, guys, it's a flip of I see it either going one way or the other. You're right. Taking the captain away, that could end up being a good thing. It depends how this team harnesses that energy. Jonas is known for defense, right? Am I wrong there? So, but you got Scheifele and Connor that, in my mind, aren't great defensive players. Now, how do they get better or they go to hell with it? It's such a flip of a coin, and it seems to me there's a bigger level of mystique around Winnipeg. We don't really know a lot of things about what goes on internally. I mean, we want to, and the things that have made the headlines maybe necessarily aren't exactly as they seem, because I hear Wheeler's all on board. I hear that they got a great dressing room right now from some players in and around the team. So who knows, man? They're a wild card. I'd love them to do well. I think the Winnipeg fans deserve a great season.
Vancouver Canucks will be interesting too, Struds. You touched on them a little bit there, but they returned Miller. They've got the contract in place. Everybody's looking at Elias Pettersson and wondering, is this the year where you really grab it and establish yourself as one of the true high-end, reliable offensive players? Reliability for so many of these Canuck players, right? Same thing with Quinn Hughes on the back end. Reliability in terms of defending. They've got some really nice pieces, but guys that are going to need to put together a full season for them to have a shot at the playoffs. And Demko is going to have to be unreal for them to have a shot.
They're all good points, but their defense just isn't there. Their defense isn't it's not even close to you mentioned Calgary, amazing group of defenders. Toronto and Edmonton, their defenders are they're average, maybe a little bit above average. But when you're looking at Tyler Myers and Dermott and Quinn Hughes, who can really move the puck, but Luke Shen right now look like he might start on the top pair. And no disrespect to Luke Shen, but that's a tall ask. So you have all these thoroughbreds up front, stud goalie and Demko, and then in between you kind of you're not okay. What do we got here? What's going on with this group? So I think they're going to be hamstrung and limited by what their defense can do.
TR, final word to you on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Auston Matthews, 60 goals last season. Everyone's going to see be interested to see if he can push for another 60 this year. Do you think he can put back-to-back Hart Trophy caliber years together?
Oh, I do. He's another guy coming into his prime. A little bit different of a player than McDavid, but that level. And yeah, I think he can get 70 goals. He misses a lot of games every year. I mean, look at 2 years ago. No, people don't bring it up a lot. Was it or three? I think 50-odd games. He nearly had 50. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to get 70, but I think easy money says 60 if he plays. Now, if he plays. And more people seem to get injured a lot. I mean, more and more people at camp. Don't you come into camp in shape already? I don't know if exhibition's too long. We can have that conversation sometime. But if Auston Matthews plays 80 games, can't mark it down. He gets 60.
Hey, buddy, just quickly, Tiara, is he the best goal scorer in the NHL? Like scoring in different ways?
I think so, yeah. I really do. Yeah, now, he's the only one that I've seen play live in that conversation in the last 5 years. Saw Ovechkin back in the day, but I went to a few Toronto games last year, and I don't know. You can just see a goal scorer. You sniffing around. It's even when he doesn't have the puck. Like he's sniffing around, and he's got that quick release. And Matthews to me, like you just said, I think he scores in a lot of different ways. He doesn't 100%. Rely on just coming over the blue line in that Michael Ryder-esque snapshot.
Got it.
But
that's
you know,
2 Michael Ryder references in 2 podcasts. I think you have one more of those left for the season.
Dwayne Norris, it's all Newfoundland all the time over here, boys.
Josh Norris, like we're Darcy Tucker here. So
Tux could score a lot of different ways too. Not the snapshot over the lumber. Tux could. Tux was way better than people give him credit for. I'll say that. Couldn't skate. It didn't look like a player that had talent, but man, that guy had eyes in the back of his head. He's one of the best passers I've seen.
A lot of heart.
Yeah, a lot of heart.
Scrappy out there for sure. Listen to us, 2 Blazers and a Tri-City American talking about Darcy Tucker on an Edmonton podcast. Who would ever thought? I don't think that's coming full circle. I don't know what direction.
In my junior career, Tux, I didn't get along with him when I played against him, but he was probably the most impressive player because the first time I saw him play, I'm like, that guy's good. I just couldn't, but he stood out to me. He couldn't skate, smaller, and he was real kind of tiny in junior. But wow, could he ever play, man? He just made a career out of proving people wrong, including myself. By my last year in junior, I played with Damon Lanko. I watched it every day. Yeah. He had 140 points and led the league. Tux had 137. And the year before he had 140, I think, a great scorer. He was such a hard, scrappy worker and known for other things that people don't realize how great of a hockey IQ Darcy Tucker had.
Yeah. Awesome. You heard the music this time, TR.
Good work. I kind of like it. Now I hear my cue.
Now you hear your cue. We love the energy, pal. Absolutely love the energy. Good stuff today, guys. Thank you. So excited the regular season is finally here. We've got games to watch. Oilers getting underway on Wednesday. We'll check back in with another episode on Thursday after their home opener. That'll wrap up this edition of Got Your Back, presented by Mr. Dirk. Huge thanks to all of our sponsors, Mr. Dirk, DLR Vinyl Products, Sherwood Buick GMC, and of course, Weiss Johnson. Thanks for your downloads and your subscriptions. It's going to be a fun season. Finally, 8 exhibition games are done, and we can start talking about the real stuff. Enjoy it, folks, and we'll see you on Thursday. Cheers.